Good evening, fellow District 21 Toastmasters. I'm your District 21 Director, Carol Carter, and welcome to the webinar Wednesday on Meetup, the astonishing secret to attract guests and members. So much for being here, and let me introduce to you our presenter tonight, Riz Aseem. Riz is a past area director. He is an advanced communicator gold, advanced leader silver, and he did this Meetup presentation in South Surrey as his high performance leadership project. So he is about to get his DTM. Woo! Applause, applause. As a past area director, Riz found that the club struggled to promote themselves, and he sunk himself into Meetup, learned all he could, and he has found this to be an invaluable tool to clubs. He will present how his club has used Meetup to its fullest potential, and you will have a chance to be a little interactive and give your insights and ask questions and glean all you can from Riz's wisdom. Please help me welcome Riz Aseem.
Woo! And the crowd goes wild. Thank you, thank you.
By the way, you don't.
Well, thank you everyone
speak. But by the way, you can't speak, but you can just feel free to click that little applause emoticon to show us that you're applauding.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the main reasons why I joined Toastmasters, to get applause at every meeting that I was. And thank you so much. I can see you applauding in my mind's eye. But let's get to it. Meetup, the astonishing secret to attract guests and members. Now, why do I call it astonishing secret? One of the reasons, when you talk to most people and tell them, look, Meetup has been doing us really well, they don't get it. They say, really, Meetup? I mean, everybody's on Facebook. How is Meetup getting you guests and members? And I think that's a really key question that I'm going to answer today. I'm also going to talk to you about what to expect, what to expect today. Originally, this presentation was designed to be a 90-minute presentation, but today, in interest of time and brevity, I'm going to keep it short, quick, and pithy. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to send your questions throughout the presentation and after as well. I'm happy to help out. Now, what can you expect? Well, you're going to learn a framework that's going to allow you to attract 5 guests in one meeting. This is our actual picture from our club. We've got about 5 guests in this picture, some of who became members later on. And our typical meeting is like that, where we have, if we have just one guest, we're kind of disappointed and we're like, what happened? Usually we'll keep getting a lot of people there. Yeah, it is our old banner, primarily because we love it. It's got all of our ribbons up there. And we just like it. So we always take our pictures with our old banner. But getting 5 guests, is it doable? You might be thinking, well, Riz, you're just saying that. Absolutely, it's doable. We don't do any open houses. We don't do any baskets for District Carol. Sorry, we don't do that. We don't do any events or hang out at the shopping mall or anything like that, because Meetup really works. And it has been consistently working for us. Now, let's take one step back and answer the question, what is Meetup? Meetup is a website for people to go meet other people who share their interests. People go to this website to say, I'm interested in photography. How do I find other people who are doing this? Or I'm interested in running, or whatever else. So people get together in real life, and these are formed around a common goal, interest, or cause, like Toastmaster or improving your public speaking. If somebody wants to just go and have fun at the park, they can go have fun at the park. But real people doing really real things. One thing that we did differently from other Toastmasters club was we decided to have our own Meetup, as opposed to joining another club in their Meetup. I know some clubs here in South Surrey, they've got 3 or 4 clubs in a single Meetup. The reason why we didn't do that is because in our own Meetup, we're able to show our club's personality on each Meetup, as opposed to confusing people who come in. And I'll talk to you later about what that means in just a bit as well. Members can see each other on the Meetup, and these are the people that they would meet at the meeting. It gives them a sense of community even before they've come in. And then Meetup members don't get overwhelmed by a meeting every day. So that really helps. So here's an example of own versus others. So on top, you'll see White Rock Toastmasters Club, which is our club. And you see each week there's just the White Rock Toastmasters meeting. Underneath, you'll see Toastmasters Clubs of White Rock and South Surrey. And you'll notice there are 3 different meetings: Toastmasters by the Sea, Evening Edition meeting, and then again, Toastmasters by the Sea. So people look at that and they think, oh, there's a meeting happening twice a week, and it becomes kind of confusing for them. And this actually doesn't show another 2 meetings that pop up some weeks, which is Early Edition happens on Monday mornings. It doesn't show here because this particular Monday, I think, was a holiday, or they just didn't have their meeting. Okay, so when you own your own meetup, you treat it a little bit better. You're more caring towards it, versus if it's 4 different clubs, nobody really takes responsibility, and your meetup kind of ends up becoming like a rental car, right? How you treat your rental car? I mean, they're the fastest cars on earth, always, right? Because you don't really care about what happens to them. The second thing that we spoke about is paid versus free. Now, initially, when I put free up, there was an option for Meetup to be free, but now they've taken it off. The minimum option for Meetup is, I believe it's $8.99 a month, paid 6 months. We went for the ultimate version, which was the highest option there, which is $240 a year, close to about 20 Canadian a month. It gives you access to have unlimited members in the Meetup itself. If you go for the lower version, you can only have 50 members, and we knew from the get-go that it takes about 100 members really to become part of your Meetup community to get any results from it. So that's why we went with the paid version, and also the lower version has only 3 people in their leadership team. With the higher version, you can add more, and we went with 4 people, and that's what I'm going to suggest you do as well. Go with 4 people running your Meetup, no less, no more, and I'll share how they're going to run, exactly how to run it. So each of us, we literally spend about 15 minutes on it. Our VPPR, in his own words, doesn't spend more than 10 minutes on it. And that's just made his life so much easier. It's made his life exciting. He doesn't have to be doing so many random things, but just this one thing. So consider this. It is a cost, but for our club, within the 6 months, we actually started generating enough money from it that it paid for itself. And again, like James Goldsmith said, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So we don't want monkeys. We want guests and members in our clubs. There are a few assumptions that I'm making for everybody who's on this webinar, everybody who attended. And those assumptions are kind of basic assumptions for being a Toastmaster. These are that you already have an excellent meeting. Your members follow the Toastmasters program. They are doing educations. They are doing speeches. They are doing great evaluations. Your members do the speeches. I mean, you don't have guest speakers coming in, because what we noticed was when guest speakers come in and they're excellent speakers, the guests who are at that meeting, they think this person is part of this meeting, so I should join. But next week when they come, that person isn't there, and they find out, oh, he was just a guest speaker. There's kind of a bait and switch. So in our club, we might have the odd guest speaker speak maybe once a year, but typically the members speak, they do it. And like it says, if you are here, if you're thinking about how to use Meetup in your club, how to improve your club, you're already following all of those things. And like they say, your meeting is probably the best meeting ever. A few commitments. You'll need to do the work. There is going to be some work, 15, 20 minutes once you've set it up. And to set it up, it's going to be maybe an hour or 2 hours per person. So together, maybe 8 hours for all 4 people put together. No delegation. You can't tell somebody else to do the work. You have to do it. It has to be personal responsibility. It has to be, okay, I'm the one who's going to do this portion, and that's me. I'm the one where the buck stops. Because if you don't do it, then it's an kind of an unhealthy relationship. If you keep passing the buck over, it just falls apart. But I know everybody on this webinar, everybody who's listening to it, already takes personal responsibility. That's one of the reasons why they're here. Within this webinar, I'm going to share some specific how-tos. We'll have a short Q&A panel at the end if you have the chance. But really, what I want you to do is connect with the specific person that I share with you in this webinar. Reach out to them. They're always open to network. They're always open to answer questions. And like the anchorman says, networking, it's kind of a big deal. Yeah, it is. Trust in it. Now, I'll share with you some individual roles that we took. So we broke the entire Meetup presentation into 4 roles. First one was just setting it up. And to set it up, we had Ilan Zwickler, who set this Meetup up as his HPL in the club. And the benefit of doing that was, first, he got an HPL done. Second, he was able to share his vision, why we need Meetup to the entire club. Here's what our Meetup now looks like. This is it. When you go to Google, look at it. This is our Meetup, White Rock Toastmasters Club. If you're on your computer, you can go look at it now, and you can follow along some of the things as we talk about it. So Ilan took this up. He shared the club Meetup vision to have Meetup members visit real club meeting. That's the first thing. We don't want to build up a Meetup audience. We don't care. We want people who are at the Meetup to come join our real meeting. So the second thing he had was have 100 members to join our Meetup, because we knew that's when you really get traction. And then to use a team to manage the Meetup, because if it's just one person, then they get overwhelmed and they usually either stop doing it or leave the club, and then it brings up a lot of problems. So the 4 roles that he set up for the setting up Meetup was the setup manager. This was the person who's going to put together the Meetup. Second is profiles, somebody who takes care of profiles, photos itself, and then content. So I'll talk through each of these specifically so you understand exactly what we're talking about here. But first, you have to present your Meetup vision to the club. Do it as a high-performance leadership. Get the club's approval to spend about $240 and explain how Meetup can replace other PR options. Other PR options, like I said earlier, we don't do open houses. We don't do baskets. We don't do community outreach. We don't do advertising. We don't do Facebook. We don't do flyers. We don't do any of that. We just do Meetup. What does the setup manager do? Well, the setup manager opens the Meetup account for the club, which you can do by going to meetup.com, create a Meetup, enter relevant tags. In it, it gives you an option. So we're about public speaking, Toastmasters, building confidence, things like that. And then get testimonials from club members. And the way Ilan did this was he actually went out, talked to the club members and said, hey, can you give me a testimonial about the club? And they just wrote it down on paper, and he just typed it in. And then designed the banner for Meetup. Ilan didn't go with the generic Meetup. The generic banner is about red. He wanted to personalize it so it would communicate the club's personality, how we are in real life, and then added co-organizers. Another thing he did was choose the Meetup team. He chose specific people who would be good for the role that he was choosing them. So as an example, the person who takes the pictures of our meeting, he's somebody who actually likes taking pictures. The person who does our content is somebody who's really good at doing content. This way, breaking it up, it's easy for a member to perform the role. And then he also created, under discussions, and I'll show that to you in just a sec, a frequently asked questions page. And it's just to set it up once. You don't have to keep doing it, and then describe each Toastmaster's role in there as well, and describe what happens at a typical meeting. So it's just a single time setup. Now, a couple of how-to things. How do you set up, design? This is again how-to stuff. I'm going to skip this over just for the webinar itself. If you have any questions about it specifically, feel free to reach out to me or to Ilan as well. So again, design a banner, put it up. So you can see here our banner has our pictures. These are real people who are at the club meeting every time. So when people see this, they can connect to it when they show up at the meeting as well. Color palette, again, personalization, background personalization as well. About us photo, again, these are 3 people in here in the picture that you see, people who will actually be at the meeting that you'll get to meet when you visit. Same thing. This is what you see when you do a Google search. Anytime somebody puts in Toastmasters or White Rock Toastmasters or Toastmasters near South Surrey, this pops up, and you can actually do it if you want right now. This is what the members see on the Members tab. That's basically how you set it up. Again, specific how to reach out to me, give me a buzz, or reach out to Lan, send me an email. Both of us are very comfortable sharing exactly how to do it. The second person who was helping us out was Fatima Khan. She was the person taking care of the RSVPs and the setting up the member profiles. Now, one of the core things that she did was really anybody who became a member or anybody that she was already a member of our club, she would take a picture of them and put it online on their profile. The way she did it was she said to a person, as an example, who was the president at that time, saying, hey, we're doing this Meetup thing. Can I take your picture, create a profile for you on Meetup using an additional Gmail account that I'll set up for you? So it's not your main account, and you don't get flooded by Meetup emails coming to your main account. I'll give you the password for both of them. So if you want to use them, great. If you don't, that's okay too, but it'll give you your profile. And this is the result that happened. If you look at the first picture here, it's Brent Moore. He was a past president. It gives a little bit description about him. And Brent is there at every meeting versus the second picture, which is Henry. Who is Henry? What does he do? I mean, there's no picture. How do you recognize him? So anytime somebody becomes a member of our club, Fatma does this. If they already have a picture, great. If they don't have a picture, Fatma takes that picture, sets it up, and creates a profile for them. So the benefit of an individual profile is pretty simple. It gets people to connect with you. You create a profile for all the members. So might be 10, might be 15 profiles that you have to do. Set up a separate email account, link it to Meetup, and that's the end of it. Add photos, and you're done. Here are some photos that Fatma took of members. I mean, some of these members, they just didn't even care about being on Meetup. They're like, we don't know, we don't go there. We're like, that's fine, you don't have to. We'll set it up for you. The second thing Fatma did was she would RSVP for all the members. So we never ask our members to go to Meetup. Meetup is not for our members to tell us that they're coming. That's the job of the VP education. That's the job of being coordinated outside of online stuff. On Meetup itself, we just want our guests to see that enough people are coming so they can come to the meeting as well. So Fatma does this for all the members as the organizer. You don't have to log in as the organizer. You have the ability and the option to RSVP. And so Fatma is responsible for RSVPing, not the members. We don't ask them to do anything on Meetup. Most members don't even know how the Meetup is run. It's just the 4 of us who are just doing it. Also, Fatma uses this Meetup to email guests. On Meetup, there's an option you can message guests. Anytime somebody puts a comment, you can reply to them. You can email guests who come to the meeting. And this really helps because people can see who they're talking to. People can connect with that person. Another thing that we do is Fatma actually gives out her real personal contact information. So anybody who's on the webinar, if you want to talk to Fatma how she does it, feel free to jot down this information. Real contact. It's on our Meetup page as well. If you go there right now, this is what you'll see. Every meeting, it says, join us this Monday, share your thoughts, favorite stories, remarkable events, and memories that make you smile. Guests are always welcome at our meetings. Please feel free to call or text at 604-786-1764 for any questions or comments. See you, Fatma Khan. And that's kind of the message that everybody sees. And so they already know, they're already kind of connected with that person. All right, that's it about the profiles. Now the next person, and if you really think about it, it hardly takes Fatma 15 minutes. So she'll go on her phone once, on a Tuesday, RSVP 2 or 3 people. On a Thursday, she'll RSVP 4 or 5 more people. On Friday, she'll RSVP a bunch of people. That way, everybody knows that they're on there. And all the guests who are thinking or sitting on the fence say, oh, so many people are coming, we should go too. And it works like gangbusters. Next person, kind of a really important person, is Alan McInnes, who does our photos and adds a little bit of a caption there. And Alan is really good at doing both, taking pictures and adding captions. And one thing that he, words that he really goes by, one picture is worth 1,000 words. And this kind of brings in the power of photography to attract new members in Meetup. And like he said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I mean, when you show people what they can expect in the meeting, they already know what to expect in the meeting, and it reduces their skepticism a little bit. How does he do it? Step one, take photos. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Take photos of all the roles. He's really discreet about it. You don't have to bring a digital camera. You don't have to bring anything. Right now, all of our phones are better than cameras were even 10 years ago. So just take out your phone, discreetly take a picture of the role, and especially about the awards at the end. If your club gives out awards, great. If they don't, start doing that. So we give out best table topics, best evaluator, and best speaker. We take pictures of all of them. And we are obviously sensitive to taking permission of the people who are going to be there. I mean, and it's kind of implied permission. If we ask them to, photos at the end for the winners, if they come up and we take their picture, they've given us permission. We don't, I've noticed some clubs take it really weirdly where they're getting people to sign a release form, which just, it creeps people out. I mean, think about it. If you're at a wedding and you go up and the photographer is there, you've given the photographer permission to take a picture. Otherwise, tell the photographer not to take a picture. Simple logic. So this is kind of our meeting role, a picture of the meeting role, speaker, table topic award. You can see my mug in there as well. I'm usually try to be up there, but if I'm not, I'll just sneak in. Step two. Pretty cool. Post some photos in the Meetup. And it's really easy with your phones because Meetup actually has an app that you can download. So the way Alan does it is he posts it in chronological order, types the name of the person who won, types in the role, and just adds a small comment, like a little bit. Describe the role and the benefit of doing that role. So if he's putting up a picture of a Toastmaster, he'll say, oh, this is what the Toastmaster does. This was our Toastmaster this meeting. What a wonderful meeting. And I'll show you some of the comments that he's typed in later as well. Now, this is step-by-step on how you post photos using a phone, and he uses an iPhone, so this is going to be more that. But I'll skip those just in the interest of time here. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to either myself or Alan McInnes, and we can guide you really step by step. It's pretty intuitive. The only thing that's not intuitive is when you're posting it, you have to, after the meeting, the meetup goes to past meetups, so you have to scroll all the way down to see all meetups, and then you can select past meetups, and then you can post them. But again, if you feel you're confused or overwhelmed at this particular step, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll guide you through that. Pretty simple, self-explanatory. That's why I'm going a little bit slow on these slides as well. So when you're checking it in the recording, you can pause here, read exactly what's going on. In summary, take photos at every meeting, post and comment afterwards, and educate about the Toastmasters program as well. And education doesn't mean that we write long paragraphs. I mean, just like 2 or 3 sentences is enough about it as well. Alan's email is there, which is amckinnes@me.com, AMCINNES@me.com. Feel free to reach out to him. Now, the fourth person is the content manager. And that person in this club was, incidentally, me. I do the themes, I do the meetings, and I also do a little bit on the Googles, which helps the club as well. But really, what I'm trying to do is make it as friendly as I can, so when people read it, they show up, and they're able to connect with the personality of the club, like I said. In themes, every time, most clubs have a theme. Our club usually has a theme that's interesting enough that we can ask a few questions. So in our theme, I just add the theme to our meeting. and let the club's personality come forward. And I ask a few questions related to the theme so people are already thinking about it before they get there. And initially I started doing it because one of the guests said that, you know what, I have no idea what I'm going to be asked about in table topics, so I get intimidated. So I thought about that and I said, okay, if I put up a few questions that they might get asked, it might help them and they might be more inclined to come. So I just started doing that. Here's an example of what I mean by that. So for our April 23rd meeting, we had the theme camping. So I just added a photo here just from Google. I think it was probably the first or second picture that showed up, and then just wrote about it a little bit. So, and this is me kind of writing as I speak as well. So looking at it, the joys of camping or the pain of being in the wild. That's the theme of our upcoming meeting on Monday, 23rd April 2018, camping. How do you feel about being in the wilderness? Do you love camping or prefer the comforts of modern life at home? What is your favorite camping memory? Any campsite stories that you'd love to share? Join us this Monday, and then everything is the same after that from what we shared about earlier. And you'll notice here in the screenshot, if you're watching this, we've got a number of people who have RSVP'd. So it says you plus 14 since I've taken the screenshot. And you'll notice each of these people has a picture there. So when a guest is looking at this theme that pops up on their meetup, they can see, oh, so 14 people RSVP'd and went. And these are real people. And this is true for every single one of our themes. So here's another one, the arts. You'll see you and 18 people went. One of the guests there didn't have a picture. When they become a member, it will have a picture. Similarly, for another meeting that we had in March, quite a few meetings up there. Now, another thing that I do is tagging photos. Anytime Alan McInnes uploads pictures, I go in there and I just tag them with the individual members. Two things happen. First, if it's a guest, they get notified that they were tagged, which kind of brings that connection with them. And second thing that happens when anybody is searching on Google, it shows activity on your meetup, which brings your meetup a little bit higher. So looking at it, if you see here, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen on this particular picture, it has everybody's name in there. And we actually have a guest in there as well. Who wasn't on Meetup, so I didn't tag him. But everybody gets tagged. And looking at similarly, if you have people sitting in the meeting, you'll notice all of these are tagged at the bottom here, and you'll also notice Alan McInnes posted the picture, and he also wrote something underneath the picture, and that's kind of what he does, which is what we've already spoken about, right? Similarly, for the awards winner, anytime they win awards, we let them know. We tag the photos, so on. For this picture as well, same thing. Now, what if we wanted to have an open house? The only thing we do, and we did this when we first started 2 years ago, we actually just changed the theme to open house, and that's it. And then we sent a message from Meetup to all of the members on Meetup to come and visit. We didn't do anything else, and for that particular meeting, we had about 10 people show up. But we quickly realized that for us to serve guests at a level where they want to become members, if we did open houses, it would just be overwhelming for us. So we stopped doing that after we consistently got 3 or 4 or 5 members, 3 or 4 or 5 guests at every meeting. So initially, when you start, just set the theme to open house every quarter. And it'll work really well because anybody who's there, they'll say, oh, it's an open house. We can come too. And they'll come visit. Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of the theme, open house, White Rock. It doesn't, if you'll notice, this is from May 2017, exactly a year ago, which was close to about 9 months after we set up the meetup itself. And that's why at that point, I wasn't even adding pictures. So this is a gradual build. You don't have to start doing everything the first day. You don't have to start taking profile pictures and RSVPing the first day you set it up. Gradually build it out. The first month, say, okay, we're going to set it up. Second month, we're going to start adding pictures. Third month, we're going to start adding profile pictures. So it becomes really easy as you go along. Another thing that I do on Google is, this is the same slide. Sorry about that. So on Google, what I do is I've added our White Rock Toastmasters as a place in Google. Anybody can do it. You can go to Google and just when you look in Google Maps, it gives you an option of add a location, and you can just add a location. That's what we've done here. And you'll notice because we're in White Rock, our club's name is White Rock Toastmasters, so it pops up pretty quick. When you click on the result, this is what you see. This is what you see. So even on here, after I set it up as a location, I also added pictures here, and you'll notice these are pictures of real people in the meeting. So even on Google, if somebody's just Googling for Toastmasters, they can see real pictures. Some clubs do this, but not a lot. So as an example, here's another club, Toastmasters by the Sea. They only have a picture of the parking lot outside the library. So if I was a guest and I looked at this picture versus this picture, I would say, okay, this probably looks like real people doing something, and I would end up here, right? So just add pictures, even on Google. And that, my friends, is my close to 90-minute presentation shrunk down. There are a few things that we've taken out, specific step by step. So I didn't guide you specifically through click here, do this, click here, do this. And the reason why I didn't do this is because it would become really boring for first somebody who's on the phone listening to this, and second for somebody who's just watching it. As you get to that point where you are really setting this up, where you're thinking about bringing it to your club, reach out to us. Reach out to anybody in White Rock Toastmasters. Send us an email, and they'll connect you. All four of us are pretty open. Ilan Zwickler, always happy to help out. He's the Division G. He's an area director right now in Division G. Fatima Khan, again, setting up the profiles. She's pretty open. Her phone number is actually there on our Meetup as well. Alan McInnes, I gave out his email address, and again, he's pretty open as well. And myself, Riz Aseem, always open to reaching out. And if it makes if somebody on the call really wants me to walk them through something right now, I think we do have some time. We can share a screen and walk you through that. But I think at this point, we're open to any questions that you might have, anything that wasn't clear, anything that was overwhelming, anything you might have to talk about. That's our presentation. I mean, really, that's it. Doesn't take us more than 15 minutes to do any of this. Each of us spends about 15 minutes now, and we are done. So yeah, I will bring back Carol in, and I'll see if Carol has any questions for me. If there's been anything on the interwebs that I might have missed, and we'll take it from there. While Carol is coming back, what I'll share with you is a few questions that we had when we presented this live. So you get that context as well from some of the attendees who were there. One question that really popped up was whose responsibility should it be to run the meetup itself? Should it be VP PR? Should it be VP membership? Who should be doing that? So the first answer to that question is think about somebody who's close enough to completing their HPL, or who's thinking about doing their HPL, and ask them if they would like to do this as an HPL, setting up the meetup. Because really, to set up the meetup, it works really well in an HPL setting because it helps people to grow a little bit. It helps them come out of their comfort zone. It helps them do things. And the second good thing that happens when you run it as an HPL is that you discover that you can delegate portions out. HPL kind of forces you to do it anyway, but then it helps that person grow. Should the VPPR run it? If they can, if they have the capacity to run it, great. If not, then find somebody who would be good at that particular thing. So as an example, incidentally, three of the people in this are Three of the people on our panel are already executives. The others are not. So I'm not an executive in the club. Ilan is the treasurer, and that's why he said, okay, I'll take on the payment side of things. Alan McInnes is the VPPR, and he said, okay, I'll take on the photos. And the third person was Fatima, who just said, okay, I'll take on the balance, which is introducing, and also because she's really good at asking people, can I take your picture? And so we decided to go with people who would be good at those roles. I'm really good at writing content, not so good at asking people if I can take their picture. So yeah. Also, Carol, I can't hear you. I believe there was some questions. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay.
All right, you're back on.
Okay. Yeah, no, I had muted my mic a couple of times and then I tried speaking a couple of times and you obviously did not hear me. So actually there weren't questions, but I have questions. Okay. So just to share with you, I started using Meetup back in 2010 with North Delta Power Talkers. One of the things that we did back then, we stopped all of the other PR that we were doing, much like your club, and we just used Meetup because it had worked so incredibly well. 4 guests on average every meeting because people were looking for us. I did not push everybody to get on Meetup. I did not create profiles for them. I had it more generic where I encouraged as the VPPR for everybody to please sign up for the meeting, and I increased their awareness that, hey, this is something that we do to share with the public, our community, people who are looking for us, that we have a real club here full of real people. And one of the things that happens after the meeting is you get a chance to reach out to people and have a conversation. And that is unique to Meetup. If the emails are going to this created Gmail account or whatever you've set up for people, are they actually interacting after the meeting? Are they responding when people reach out to them?
So here's the interesting thing for us. Meetup is not the place we want people to be interacting. And we were very specific about that from the get-go. Our goal was for people to interact in the real world. And that's one of the reasons why I think for us, nobody is reaching out to anybody through Meetup. People show up at the meeting, and because our members are so friendly from the get-go, that's just our personality. Everybody greets everybody. We don't have a greeter, but anytime somebody walks in the door, all of our members go and introduce ourselves to that person. So it really works for our club, and because we are up there introducing ourselves directly to the members, they can reach out, but they don't reach out as sending a private message to somebody, because it's just not our club's culture. If somebody comments or if somebody asks a question on Meetup, Fatma, as the organizer, has the ability to answer those. If somebody sends a message to the Meetup organizer, Fatma takes care of that. And Fatma's really, really open and says, how about we connect at the next meeting you're there? And they just actually have a real conversation.
Okay. Another thing that I did is I would go in after the meeting, immediately following the meeting, and I would add people who I knew were there but hadn't signed up on Meetup. So it was a true reflection of who was actually there. And then I would adjust the attendee number because some people weren't signed up on Meetup. And say 12 of our members were there, and we had 21 people at the meeting. I would change that attendee list to 21 people.
I think that's a really good point. And that's one of the things that setting up their profiles online does anyway, right? So for us, because every member's profile is on the Meetup and we've RSVP'd. So typically you'll notice in your club as well, the agendas get sent out on email, right? And people say, oh, I can't make it, or I can take that role, right? So that's naturally happening anyway. The I can't come or I can come. And we didn't want to add another layer of RSVPing to Meetup. I know some clubs are really focused on asking their members, oh, you must go to Meetup to RSVP. We don't use Meetup as an RSVP method. They can RSVP directly on email, and that's okay.
Right.
Our Meetup is focused on attracting guests to the meeting. That's our only focus. And that's why you'll notice that we don't have any additional meetings there. So the workshop that we did, it wasn't on Meetup because that's related to Toastmasters, not guests.
Right.
Okay,
right.
I've got a question in here. Is it okay if I go ahead and read that out?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, do you have any strategies for keeping in touch with people who sign up to your Meetup but don't show up to an actual meeting? Great question, great question. One of the things that we did when we were just starting out Meetup, so it's really frustrating when people RSVP on Meetup, especially guests, and then they don't show up. It's a little bit frustrating. So what we did was, if they didn't show up, one of us, usually it would be Fatma because it was her name on there. If it was somebody else's name, then that would be the person. So usually Fatma would reach out to them and say, hey, sorry we missed you last night. I hope everything's okay and we look forward to seeing you next time, right? So really, it's an empathetic message saying, without actually that you RSVP'd and didn't show up. And most people at that point would say, oh, we're really sorry, we got busy. But we noticed as we started putting in profile pictures, as we started engaging and making it more friendly, we had that problem less and less. So now anytime somebody RSVPs, they show up.
Right.
Because they've already met people online, right?
Right. Yeah, one of the things that I would do is if immediately when somebody RSVP'd, I would reach out to them and give them a little bit of insight of what they're going to see, thank them for signing up, telling them that I'm excited to meet them, what they can expect, to arrive a few minutes early, about 15 minutes early, so that they can connect with a few people before the meeting and feel really comfortable. And that personal touch went a long way. But yeah, if they didn't show up, I did do the same, the friendly message afterwards saying, oh, I'm sorry I missed you. But I hope that you can make it to our next meeting. We're having a meeting next Wednesday or Monday. I can't remember when we met. But usually they reached back with a message and apologized for not being there and said yes. They explained what came up, and eventually, if not the next week, maybe the week after, we'd see them. But that personal touch does matter.
Absolutely, great idea there. Great idea. Another question that we had was, how much time do you spend on Meetup? So the answer is, when we were first setting it up, like absolutely at the start, like we've just thought about using Meetup and we're setting it up. At that point, each of us probably spent about an hour or 2 hours by ourselves setting these things up. So I might have spent a little bit more time at that point, just writing up, okay, what is some content that needs to go there. Ilan, I know, spent about 2 or 3 hours setting the whole thing up, setting the theme, setting the banner, getting the testimonials up. But once that structure and foundation was set up, each of us now, as an example, when I was putting this presentation together, we met as a team and I asked everyone, I'm like, okay, so how much time do you spend on Meetup? And Ilan says, I don't spend any time because I'm not doing anything. Even the payment is automatic. So the only thing I'm doing is submitting it to the treasurer, and I'm the treasurer. So really, I just get the president to sign the receipt. I asked Alan how much time he spends. He's like, you know what? After I'm done, like after the meeting, I just go home, type 2 sentences, upload the picture, and I'm done. Maybe 10 minutes. Or he's like, if I'm really slow, it'll be 15 minutes. Fatma, same thing. She's like, she spends 5 minutes, maybe 3 times a week. So overall 15 minutes. And I do the same thing. It takes me maybe about 10 minutes to ask a couple of questions and find the the most appropriate photo for the theme, just post it up, and you're done.
Nice.
And we don't do, like I said, we don't do anything else. So when you think about it, if one person was doing all of these things, they would quickly get overwhelmed because it would seem to them that they were doing it constantly. And I'm talking from experience. I was running the meetup by myself for another club, and I didn't set it up like this. And after a while, it was just overwhelming, and it just didn't work. So that other meetup started pretty close to our meetup. Right now, that meetup's got about 100 meetup members on their meetup. Our club has about 260.
Wow.
So you can see the difference on when 4 people take on the role and they do it consistently every week without telling anybody, without looking for any applause for it. The results that you get.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did quiz people when they were coming through the door where they found us, and always like it started to be a trend. I wouldn't say always, but it was either they Google searched the website or they found us on Meetup. And that's important to note that Meetup has done tremendous jobs making sure that they land up toward the top of the Google searches.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they do a lot of that work for you.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the reason why we're paying them, is to take care of all the other stuff, and we can just do the things without having to worry about all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
one thing that you mentioned is that you got your own meetup. I just, for the sake of the District 21 clubs that are listening to this, know that the district has meetup accounts. And for every meetup account, you can have up to 3 meetups. So we've set these meetups to be geographical regions.
Right.
Now, like Riz said, there's advantage to paying for your own meetup account. But if you're not quite sure you want to go that route, don't worry. You can try this out and dip your toe in the water and see how you like it. And
I would call it, sorry, Carol, I would say what Master Yoda says: do or do not do, there is no try. But I think it's so wonderful. I wish we had the opportunity when we set it up for the district to kind of give us those accounts. It would just save us the initial skepticism, right?
Right.
Whether it will work or not. And I think it's so wonderful that the district has set these accounts up. So anybody who's on this call, jump on it like yesterday, because the accounts are there. Virtually nothing to lose and everything to gain at this point. Yeah. So wonderful, wonderful.
So it's let me see. Oh, is there a new question? Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. Here.
Some Toastmaster clubs are also part of other meetup groups with themes like fun activities in Vancouver to promote their meeting. Would you recommend to do that? On one hand, you can reach thousands of meetup members, but on the other, it makes it difficult to be noticeable by potential guests. Great question. I can only talk from our experience. We did not do any of that. I think if you follow just what I've shared here, the benefit is so let me put it this way. When you go out to other clubs, as an example, when you go out to other meetup and fun activities in Vancouver, first, when you think about fun, usually public speaking isn't the first thing that comes to mind. It might be like going to a park or going to the beach or something like that, or meeting out for games night, right? So there's a cognitive dissonance there. People don't connect public speaking with that. But the second, which I think is a bigger challenge, is you're exposing yourself to potentially thousands of people who, pardon my French, don't give a hoot about.
Okay, that's better.
don't give a hoot about public speaking, right? Versus when you have your own meetup and somebody comes to Meetup and searches for public speaking or Toastmasters or something else, right?
Confidence.
Whatever, yeah, networking or entrepreneurs or something like that, depending on what kind of meeting you run, right? Your club shows up and they say, this is for me. So we want to attract people who are looking for us versus hound people who could care less about what we're doing. So I would say if you are doing that, really test it out how many guests you get. So do it consistently for, say, 2 months and see how many guests you get, not from Meetup, but from that particular group. So as an example, if you're posting in fun activities in Vancouver and you have 5 guests show up at a meeting, ask them, how did you hear about us? And they say Meetup, you say, oh, which Meetup? Right? It just makes it a little bit easier for the person who's running it. For us, we just stuck to our own Meetup. If somebody else came to us and said, can you post our event here? We've had a few people do that. We delete it immediately. We say, no, this is for Toastmasters and for people looking for Toastmasters. You can go anywhere else. We just want, this is our thing. We're very protective about it. We don't even share anybody else's Meetup on here. If somebody says, I'm doing an event, which is not our meeting, we say, you know what, you're welcome to come to our club and announce it to our members. We're not posting it on our Meetup. We're kind of protective like that.
Right.
I hope that answers the question.
That's a good question. I see a lot of people trying that, and you're right. I'm kind of, it feels like a bait and switch, actually, when I click on something and then I realize, oh, it's a Toastmasters meeting.
Yeah.
And I feel betrayed.
Yeah, for sure. We want our guests to have a very consistent experience from the first time they meet us, which is online while they're looking for something. So as an example, anybody who listens to this recording, don't tell us that you've heard this recording. Show up at the meeting as a guest and see how you feel about it after you've gone through our Meetup page. So you'll notice our Meetup page is very homely, very friendly. It has that kind of homely, friendly vibe. I mean, our pictures aren't taken by a professional photographer. They're kind of homemade.
I think you mean homey.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Homey. Homely is something different.
Fair enough.
A little levity. Hey, yeah. Where are the emoticons? I'm not seeing emoticons floating across the screen.
Yeah, so we're not like a professional club. We don't come in a tie and suit. That's why you'll see the pictures aren't in a tie or suit. They're not professional pictures. If we were a professional networking kind of club, maybe we'd have a little bit. Our persona online would be like that. So the photograph you'd see in the background would be kind of sharp. It would seem that it's been taken by a professional photographer. Right now, it seems like it's been taken by somebody who just took out their phone. And that's kind of the persona we're going with. If you read our themes, they're very conversational because that's what we're going with. When you come to our club, it's a lively, kind of lighthearted, kind of relaxed, friendly environment. That's what we're going for. I know other clubs in this area, they have a completely different way. So they clap down guests, even clap down speakers if they're 30 seconds over. We don't do that because it's just not us.
Yeah, you bring up an important point about all marketing. If you're not, you've got to remember it's one person looking at your marketing. It's one person on the other end of that computer. So you really are having a one-on-one conversation with them. They don't know it yet. They don't realize it. But when you connect, when they feel a real connection through whatever they read, whatever they see, they'll feel like they know you and they'll trust you and they'll show up. And we forget how difficult it is to walk through the door of that first meeting when you don't know anybody. So, Riz, I love what your club has done. I love that you put your personality up there. I love that there are photos, actual photos of people, of real people in that club that they can see, that they can connect to. They can see meeting after meeting, all these people show up. And I think that is huge for meetups because so many meetups up there, and you look back at past meetings and you see 5 people, 7 people, 3 people. and you think, oh, I don't know if I really want to go all the way to Vancouver for that. But when you
Mm.
see that week after week in your own backyard, there is a group of people that show up. They have fun. There are photos of the meetings. So those meetings actually happened and people look happy. They look like they're having fun.
Yeah.
You want to be part of that. So
Absolutely.
I think Meetup has got so many tools. Not only are you able to reach out, and in this age of email aversion, you're able to connect with people at a more personal level the minute that they sign up for your meetup. You're able to connect with them the minute that they say they're showing up to one of your events. You're able to follow up with them. They've given you that permission just by joining meetup.com. And it is an invaluable resource. There is nothing else like it. I feel like it is this untapped gold that here it is. It's just hanging out there. And so few members, so few clubs have used it. So few members know it exists. There are people in your neighborhoods right now that are looking for exactly what you host every week. They don't know you exist and you don't know they're looking. So please, 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 after viewing this webinar, whether you are viewing it live or whether you're viewing the recording, please reach out to Riz Aseem. Riz, how do they get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is to send me a text. My number is 604-786-1783, or just go to our Meetup and send me a message. I usually check those as well. I saw a last-minute question pop up.
Yes, let's bring that up.
Was that right?
That's
Yeah. So,
Barb, how do we try the free one? Yes, Barb. So if you want to try meetup.com for free on the district's meetup, just know that you will be part of a geographic region. So Barb, you're in Tawasin. You'll be part of the one that's Richmond and South Delta, and you will add your meetings to that meetup. Right now, there's a bunch of Richmond meetings on it, but there's not a whole. I don't think there's anything from South Delta on there. So once you add a meetup, you can set it up as a recurring event. And even though it's set up as a recurring event, you can log in and change the theme or change a couple sentences, whatever you want to change each and every time. And it doesn't affect the fact that your meetup will keep showing up week after week after week. And people will be able to connect to you. You'll see new members added constantly for the entire geographical region. The nice thing is that maybe somebody who went to another meetup that was part of that group and they didn't really have a good experience, they'll see what you're doing and they'll go, maybe I'll check out that club. Oh, did I see another question? Was that another question? Do we get to add profiles? Yes, you absolutely do. So what happened there? Yeah. So yes, go ahead and reach out to me if you would like to add your club to meetup.com. I'll send you the information. Just so you know, your division director has been added as an admin, so they can add you and get you going, but I'm happy to walk you through it because I know that those division directors, they're very, very busy too. And all of you should know how to get a hold of me because I'm the person who sends you those emails that a third of our members actually open. So go back to one of the emails from Carol Carter. Do a search in your email box, Carol Carter, and my email will come up somewhere in there. Send me a note. And I would love to get you going on Meetup. I'm very passionate about this tool. I would love to see all of our clubs using it. I think it's fabulous.
As do I. Well, thank you everybody for attending this webinar. I appreciate the evening, the Wednesday evening that you spent with us here, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you've got any questions, if you've got anything, feel free to reach out to me. My number is 604-786-1783. That's the kind of the best way to reach out. Just to text me or leave a voicemail if I don't pick up the phone. But I'm usually pretty quick at doing that. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the evening and a great weekend coming up.
Thank you so much, Riz. You did an awesome job presenting Meetup. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being on here. Thank you for being brave and stepping up. Yay.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. I think I left a couple of questions. If you get taken to a site that asks you some questions after this meetup, please answer them. If not, I'll send you a few questions and ask for your feedback. Thanks once again. Have a very good night. And I'm ending the meeting. Oh, no, it doesn't take you to the URL. Sorry. Okay, I'll send you questions. Oh, wait, John, sorry. What did he say? Oh, well done. Okay, there's feedback from John. So well done, Riz. Well done.
Well, thank you. You have a wonderful day. This is Riz Aseem signing off.
Okay, take care. Bye.